Hi, this is Laurieann Gibson, and you're watching Gospel Goodies TV.
Gospel Goodies.
Gospel Goodies. Gospel Goodies.
This is Gospel Goodies.
I want to start by first letting me say you are literally one of the hardest working people I've seen growing up, and I'd salute you on it anytime, but it's Women's Month right now, so I definitely want to give you your extra kudos and your flowers now because you are such a brilliant, strong, amazing woman. And of course, we've never met personally before this, but I just feel like the energy you give radiates off the TV and at different events and magazines online, and it's really inspiring. So I'm genuinely excited about the way you're sharing that furthermore in your new book. So thank you and congratulations.
Oh my God, that makes me want to cry. I want to cry today. Well, I have to really say that I am really, truly grateful to God. I am so thankful for who He is in my life and who He is, period. So all glory to God for all those things that you said. Yeah, it's really my truth, and it really is the truth.
Awesome. So let's talk about the new book, Dance Your Dance, 8 Steps to Unleash Your Passion and Live Your Dreams. What inspired the release?
Well, I did not know I had a book in me. It wasn't like on a checklist, or I wasn't outside of myself like, oh, I want to write a book. But ultimately, God had another plan. And when I began to write the book, I began to understand that my purpose was in the book, and that a big part of my passion was to connect directly to people, not just through the artists I've built, but from my heart to your heart. And what my passion was to inspire people to dance their dance, not anyone else's. It's in comparing ourselves constantly to what we see or to someone else that we really do deny ourselves the most amazing journey to living our dreams.
Nice. And I haven't had a chance to read it in full yet, but I did read a little bit of it, and the beginning is already so captivating. You lead with saying, I had to write it down because it was so good. The truth of who you are, of who you can be, of who you always were, is more brilliant than the lie could ever be. Finding your truth, believing in your truth, unleashing your truth is what will set you free and send you soaring into the beautiful process of becoming who you are, becoming who you are meant to be, becoming who God always wanted you to be. So I wanted to know, how did you discover your passion, and what that process of becoming free look like for you?
I mean, it makes me cry every time I read that because there is so much truth in it. Yes. Why I say dare to dream, and why I believe that if I can speak to your dreams, I can speak to your circumstance, because it is God who gives us the dream. And our purpose is in that dream. He is in that dream. That's why there's so much passion when you think about your dream. And you are already what He called you to be in the beginning. So I tap into that in the 8 steps, identifying with that, which is already who you are, because it is who God called you to be. So once we have that understanding to grab a hold of, then I wouldn't say it becomes easier, it just becomes a real process. So in the book, I do share certain circumstances that help you identify with what's happening in your life so that you can persevere through it. It was through the situations that I gained the revelation so that I could create the steps. When people would deny the truth of the power of my gift, right? I had to battle through those insecurities affecting me, staying with me, changing me, hardening my heart, therefore making my gift less effective. So it was really understanding how to persevere through every challenge I faced that would allow me to become the very version that I needed to be in order to live my dream. And I think along the way, you face dream killers. I talk about them in the book. You face yes agains, people that just attach themselves to your gift from a selfish place for themselves. You encounter different narratives that don't align themselves with your dream. I talk about all these things so that you can identify it and understand how to fight against it, ultimately coming out victorious. Because the dream is God in us. The dream is Him speaking, whispering, developing us to live a life more abundantly. And there is a passion in that dream. And that is why there's a passion, because that passion will sustain any situation. And I talk about hanging on to the feeling. Some people see it, some people just know it, some people feel it. I don't know what it looks like. It's just a feeling. God gave me a feeling of when I would be in alignment, when I would reach something, would feel like this, He told me. And so that feeling I had to hang on to, regardless of what someone else said or what the circumstance said. I would say that doesn't line up with the feeling. He said I would feel like this, like I feel now talking to you, giving Him the glory, expressing the power of believing in your dream, right? So sometimes you have to hang on to the feeling, even when what's around you, obviously, or what circumstance you're in doesn't really reflect that. I deal with all of this in the 8 steps in Dance Your Dance. So you can read the book because it has been a journey, and it wasn't always pretty. And I know that a lot of artists get to a place where, success means you're not supposed to talk about the times where you were curled up in the corner, crying out to God, how is this happening to me? It's not, I can't even explain it, right? Mm-hmm. Those times I talk about in the book, because it is then that I hang on to the feeling of the dream, the promise of God in the dream, and I choose it every time over the circumstance. Then you're able to see the revelation as a result of that choice. Hi, my office. Sorry, guys. Delivery.
All good.
Right on time, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I actually wanted to ask you about that. You're obviously in the public eye, of course, but behind closed doors is always different than what the mass sees. And it's kind of like that unmasked moment where you kind of have to sit in your thoughts and your decisions. So will readers, I know it's based on your experience, but will readers learn anything new about your personal experiences?
100%. The only way to be effective was to be transparent, was to bring the reader into that dark space or that battle or that why. When I was in a certain circumstance, I could not have allowed the book to be as powerful as it is if I wasn't strong enough to be vulnerable. Because it was in that vulnerable space that you could see and understand that the Holy Spirit was developing me or perfecting me. And because I share it, you're actually able to identify with it.
And you write it out.
You're able to see, oh my God, there is a God, because there's no way that she could have done that, been curled up that way at that moment, and then what happened the next day took her immediately out of where she was and back on track. So it's in the vulnerability. They'll learn, I think, more about who I am and what my heart is. Mm-hmm. I have the heart of a warrior and the heart for the people. I want the world to dance their dance. I have a message, a different narrative, not one to compare yourself, not one to identify with what people say you're supposed to do, but to really dance your dance and identify with the God-given dream that He gave you, with the feeling of that, with the idea that when you're alone with Him, be brave enough to believe in what He whispers, what He says. And it is a muscle. It is a cadence. It is a rhythm. It is a dance. And it is a dance. And God is the ultimate choreographer. And he has choreographed a masterpiece in me and in my life. So it's that same type of push and pull and dance and ultimately I want you to dance your dance because that's where the joy is. That's where the worship is. That's where the praise is. It's all connected.
Nice. I love to hear it. And it does take a lot of faith, not only in yourself, but in God too, to even make it through a lot of things. But the entertainment industry is so cutthroat. So that's awesome. You continue to lean on your faith during that time.
100%. And I think that is why, because there was a lot of time where I was like, why did you leave me here? Right? I talk it in the book about it in the book. Why? I swear I could just do something else. Why? But because it wasn't about me, it was about what he has for me to do as a result of what I needed to come through, so that if there's a young visionary, young doctor, lawyer, architect at the sound, hearing my voice, hearing me say, look, I was in the most critical industry and I still am, and battling the biggest negativity, the biggest demons, the biggest warfare. But I hung on to my faith. I hung on to the word. I hung on to the dream, and it produced who I ultimately am. And that produces the purpose. You know, I talk about step 4, staying in your yes. Mm-hmm. And that's a big step for me, because so easy when you wake up and you get a phone call and you're fired, or it's not the call you wait for. How do you stay in your yes, Laurieann, when I just got an eviction notice? Mm-hmm. I take you through a chapter where all else failed. I was walking aimlessly in the streets of New York, hanging on to my yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have to. And I see God is continuing to open up all these doors for you. Looks like you're currently a judge on So You Think You Can Dance, and you will be serving as the choreographer for making the band The Reboot. So what else can we expect from you in 2021?
Well, big things, great things. I mean, it's limitless. It's unstoppable. It is. I'm now in step 8. I'm living the dream. So everything that my hands touch, the success of that is anointed by God, called by God. So also I understand how to remain in him and not in me. And so I'm excited about the things that will reflect that. Lots of television projects. I'm excited about 2 very big reality projects that I'm just closing the deal for. I'm excited about the new artists that I have coming out. I'm excited about the old artists that are coming out again. I'm excited about branching out, and I'm excited about my brand taking position on a global level, so that the message of my heart, the passion to make the world dance, will ultimately be heard and felt around the world.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited for you. It looks like we have time for one more question. So I know you're a legend yourself, but you've worked with a ton of legends. So if you can pick one, I know there's probably a bunch, but what's one of your most memorable moments with a legend, or a legendary moment that you will never forget?
I think I was working with Brandy Norwood in LA, and I got a call from the director, Spike Lee, and it was for a Michael Jackson video. They don't really care about us. And I got a call. I was working with Brandy. I got a call from Spike Lee, and the artist was Michael Jackson.
Nice trio.
Hang on to the dream, children. God is in the dream. And I will never forget, because it was a confirmation on so many levels, but it was also like a moment of contact where, as a result of the gift that I was given, it was gonna be a fight. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he showed me very early, but it was gonna be a fight. So I talk about understanding how to stay in that fight, Stay in your yes, find your team. But that was a super amazing moment for me, working with Michael Jackson, directed by Spike Lee, Leaving Brandy, and all those incredible gifts around me at one time, the most powerful gifts, some of the most powerful gifts in the industry. And then, of course, I continue to experience that. But I'll never forget the way Michael looked at me. And I understood at that moment that God is the giver of the gift, and that the gifts given by God are actually that powerful and that supreme, and will always reign supreme over man's interpretation of the gift.
Wow. I love to hear it. Thank you so much for this conversation, Miss Laurieann Gibson. Dance Your Dance, 8 Steps to Unleash Your Passion and Live Your Dream is out now. Can you tell our listeners where to find your book and how to keep up with everything you have going on?
Okay, Dream Warriors, you can find the book on danceyourdancebook.com. It's at Barnes & Nobles. Go buy it now. It's only 26 bones, I think. So it's affordable. You can download the audiobook, but most importantly, it is the handbook to never giving up. Make that purchase investment in yourself and just don't give up on that dream, because God is in that dream and he will never give up on us. So don't you give up on him.